Israel Adesanya has officially took his first loss in MMA after his bout with the Polish power Jan Blachowicz. This is his first MMA loss, but not in competitive martial arts. Adesanya is 75-5 in his kickboxing career. After the fight with Jan, Izzy took the loss to Jan very well, and some might think there's more to it. How can a guy at such a high level be okay with a loss, especially immediately after? Sure, he's lost in kickboxing before, but he's at the highest level of mixed martial arts in the world, and probably ever. This is the same guy that doesn't really care about belts. Rather, he is about winning fights and being the best. He lost an opportunity to win a second belt, which according to him wouldn't matter anyways, but he still lost. There's always talk about how to beat a kickboxer that comes into the mixed martial arts world. A lot of times these guys like Israel Adesanya come in with a lot of high expectations because they have these knockout wins, they have this flashy style, but they come in and they get beat, and they get beat pretty convincingly. Why? A lot of times is because the same formula is followed when facing these kickboxers in MMA. What they do is that they crowd the kickboxer, or they stay at range, and then they grapple them. A lot of kickboxers probably have been kickboxing for a major part of their life, but one thing that they haven't been doing is grappling. They don't wrestle, they haven't really wrestled before, and their jiu-jitsu game is still developing. To expect somebody that has no base at all in wrestling, has no knowledge of jiu-jitsu, to come in and compete with these high-level guys that have been training for 10 years, 15 years of their lives, it's just very difficult for those kickboxers to compete. Israel Adesanya, though, has defied everything, all those things. He's come in and he's beat guys that try to wrestle him. He's beat guys that try to submit him on the ground. What's different? Well, maybe it's because Israel Adesanya is just that good at kickboxing, or there might be other reasons. We'll start to see that as Israel Adesanya evolves. We'll understand what makes him different than all these previous kickboxers that came in and had these difficulties with dealing with all the other aspects of MMA other than the striking department. There was always a blueprint on how to beat Izzy, but nobody was able to do it until Jan. How does Izzy come back knowing that a grappler of Jan's caliber was able to beat him over 5 rounds? Yes, Izzy has faced high-level grapplers, but none of the top contenders he faced had a strong grappling game worked into their style. Whitaker, Gastelum, Anderson Silva, Costa, Yoel Romero, all were passive grapplers or didn't have much of a wrestling game at all. What happens now that Izzy came out the other side the loser and lost because of his lack of experience in the grappling department? He cannot simply shake this off as a one-time thing and think that he can just go into his next fight and win it regardless of what happened in his last one. Actually, I'm not really sure. Maybe he can, but we won't find out until he faces another fighter with a strong wrestling game. The world has seen him lose and how it was done. He is no longer the man with the aura of invincibility around him anymore. Confidence in the middleweights will surge knowing that Izzy can be beat and using the same tools that we first thought would beat him. I'll be honest though, Jan didn't win the fight against Izzy just because of his grappling. He used his grappling later, especially in the later rounds, to seal the win. But it was more of a conservative approach. He was able to check a lot of Israel Adesanya's kicks. He would stay out in range, very, very defensive. He did eat on feints, but he didn't overextend himself. He used single powerful shots to deter Izzy from coming any closer. And then later in the fight, when Izzy came too close, Jan went for the takedowns and held him on the ground. It was a perfect game plan. It worked very, very well, but there's a lot that went into it. Grappling is a big key, but Marvin Vettori has the ability to do what Jan did. Now, can he do it? That's a different question. Israel Adesanya is no slouch, and everybody before Jan Blachowicz said that they could beat him at their game, at the grappling game, whatever it may be, the striking game, but they didn't. So now Marvin is going to go in there and try to do what Jan did, but maybe a little bit of an Italian twist to it, if you get what I mean.
How do you feel about what happened just a few days ago in Las Vegas? Yeah. Last time I went through this was a win for Carlos, that is. But
Sure.
yeah. So coming back here, to be honest, same way I felt after the fight. Like, not really much has changed. It's just one of those things like, shucks, man. But apart from that, it's like, oh well, you know, you take the silver linings, I guess, from the performance. I held a good account for myself. To put it this way, this fight kind of reminded me of shout out to my man Philip Berlinden. He's a kickboxer from Belgium. I fought him in Turkey, and I rematched him again in China. The first time I fought him in Turkey, like, he's coming down from heavyweight to light heavyweight to middleweight, actually from heavyweight as well. And I wasn't even like as beefy as I am now. And this fight reminded me of that in the later rounds. I felt like I couldn't do anything because of the size, because it did play a factor in the later rounds. And I have to just, I guess, take that. Because, I mean, despite what they want to let you know, Ariel, despite what they want to tell you, these judges or these critics, the fight was close. And I'll give it to Jan that he played the smart game in the 4th and 5th round. When I put my foot on the pedal, he used his timing to get me with a takedown. Because earlier on, they didn't do, like, he took me down, I get back up, he tried to take me down, I blocked it. But then in the later rounds, when I put my foot on the pedal a little bit too much, because I really wanted to solidify it, boom, he got me. And credit to him for that. But yeah, it's just the same, like, as after the fight. It's one of those things, and I just have to, like, right, back to the drawing board. Let's get a crack at it again.
We'll see what happens. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. What do you think about Israel Adesanya? Will he come back stronger than ever, or is this the downturn of his career?